47 matches, 46 days, 611 sixes, 2138 fours. इतने सारे धमाकेदार एक्शन के बाद, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the pinnacle of the ICC Men's 2023 Cricket World Cup.
After 12 episodes, a lot of discussions and a lot of rapid fire rounds, we are finally into the finals. The hosts India have a spot in it and they take on Australia. नमस्कार दर्शकों, मैं हूं एरिश
और मैं हूं आदित और हम आपका स्वागत करते हैं हमारे फाइनल एपिसोड में ऑफ आवर शो स्टम्प्स एंड सिक्सेस,
where every cricket moment finds its voice, produced by the International Institute of Sports and Management.
वर्ल्ड कप, क्या सफ़र रहा था ये वर्ल्ड कप का। इंडिया में ये वर्ल्ड कप से ही क्रिकेट का जन्म हुआ। हम जितनी भी बार बात करें ये वर्ल्ड कप की कम है। बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स आए, बहुत अच्छे परफॉर्मेंसेस के साथ आए जो टोटली अनएक्सपेक्टेड था। आप बात करिए कपिल पाजी की 175 रन और 138 बॉल्स की, क्या पारी खेली थी उन्होंने। रॉजर बिन्नी और मदन लाल ने अपनी शानदार गेंदबाजी से इंडिया के लीडिंग विकेट टेकर बने। क्या सफ़र था वो। आज हम वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल के बारे में बात करें तो पहले हमारे दिमाग में 1983 की वो शानदार जीत सामने आती है।
2011 का विश्व कप, हमारे गॉड ऑफ क्रिकेट सचिन तेंदुलकर का ये आखिरी वर्ल्ड कप था एंड हिज हंट फॉर द वर्ल्ड कप फाइनली एंडेड। इस विश्व कप की शुरुआत सहवाग के चौके से हुई थी और खत्म धोनी के छक्के ने किया था। इंडिया बिकेम द फर्स्ट होस्ट नेशन टू एक्चुअली होस्ट एंड देन विन द वर्ल्ड कप और ये ट्रेंड तब से बरकरार रहा है। युवराज सिंह एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण खिलाड़ी थे इंडिया की टीम के लिए 2011 में, क्योंकि उन्होंने ये वर्ल्ड कप कैंसर में खेला था। इनफैक्ट वेस्ट इंडीज के एक मैच में उन्हें ग्राउंड में उल्टियां हो रही थी। अंपायर ने आके उन्हें कहा कि आपको मैदान छोड़ के जाना पड़ेगा, मगर युवराज सिंह डटे रहे। उन्होंने कहा कि अगर मैं बेहोश हो गया तो मेरे लिए स्ट्रेचर लेके आना, वरना मैं ये मैच खेलने वाला हूं। एंड ही वेंट ऑन टू स्कोर अ मेमोरेबल सेंचुरी इन दैट मैच। दैट मैच इज अ टेस्टिमेंट ऑफ द अनडाइंग स्पिरिट ऑफ युवराज सिंह एंड द एंटायर इंडियन टीम इन 2011 वर्ल्ड कप। युवराज सिंह इस टूर्नामेंट के मैन ऑफ द सीरीज भी कहलाए थे जब उन्होंने 362 रन बनाए और 15 विकेट ली। इनफैक्ट ही वॉज द फर्स्ट इंडियन स्पिनर टू पिक अप अ फाइफर इन द वर्ल्ड कप। युवराज सिंह के अलावा बाकी सारे खिलाड़ियों ने भी एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन प्रदर्शन दिखाया था वर्ल्ड कप में। गौतम गंभीर की वो ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट नॉक ऑफ 97 इन द फाइनल, वो भी हम कभी भूल नहीं सकते। टू टॉप इट ऑल ऑफ, धोनी फिनिशेस ऑफ इन स्टाइल और सचिन के वो नारे जो अभी भी वानखेड़े स्टेडियम में गूंजते हैं, वो एक ऐसा पल है जो कोई भी भारतीय कभी भूल नहीं सकता। और हम यही उम्मीद करते हैं कि 2023 में ये विश्व कप हमारे पास वापस आएगा।
We now talk about the most successful team in World Cup history, the Aussies, who've now made it to the final for the 8th time. And the 7 times that they've made it to the World Cup, they won 5 out of those 7 times. That's a pretty good record to have, isn't it? And now, the one thing that has been similar in all their campaigns is how dominant they've been and how they've never lost a single match in any of the campaigns. Although this tournament, they've not been able to repeat that performance. They've currently won 7 on a trot, including that one famous win by Maxwell against the Afghanistan. Now, if there's one team in this tournament that can give a loss to Team India, it has to be none other than the Aussies.
Now let's take a quick look at the route each of the teams took to be where they are here today in the finals.
So talking about, I think, Australia's performance, if you look at the table, the points table, Australia in the first game when it started, when the World Cup started for Australia against India, at one moment when India were 2 for 3, you felt that Australia has already taken that first step towards getting their hands on the crown. And then what India did was hand Australia their first loss of the tournament. And after that, they lost their second game to South Africa, which kept them at the bottom of the points table that I think people haven't even imagined in their wildest of dreams. So that is something that happened. But then eventually, again, the reason that these guys are the world champions, 5-time world champions, they were surely going to bounce back in style. The only thing I think in their way, they have faced troubles like 2 or 3 times. One was against New Zealand when they won that game just by a margin of 5 runs. If that ball on the last ball, if that would have gone for a 6, then probably that would have been their 3rd loss. Then against Afghanistan, that match was again where everyone felt Australia is probably going to be hanging around, not able to get over the line. But again, that innings by Maxwell won for the ages.
Best.
And the semi-final for Australia against South Africa, which seemed easy again when South Africa were 44 for 4 at the end of 14 overs before that rain stopped the play. But then eventually how Pat Cummins once again showed that stability, being a captain, responsible captain towards the end, and made sure that then the team gets over the line. So Australia has had not an easy World Cup, but yes, they have definitely made their way to the finals.
Having said so, I agree with Parth's thoughts on Australia's journey to the finals. If you ask me about India's journey to the finals, I think India has had the best journey to the finals. They have been absolutely clinical in terms of winning each and every game in this tournament. The journey of World Cup for India started on a very disastrous note, I would say, when we were 2 for 3 against Australia. And then the way Kohli and KL Rahul played that day against Australia in Chennai, that almost defined our roadmap till the finals. There has been someone who has stood by the Indian team each and every game, be it Kohli, KL or Rohit or anyone from in that matter. We again beat Pakistan in Ahmedabad. We made sure that the streak continues. The only hurdle which I think was against New Zealand, where we found it a bit difficult when New Zealand had put up a good score, but we made sure that we chase it in the right manner. After that, we completely destroyed England, I would say, the defending champions of the World Cup. And then Sri Lanka, we got them at 55, South Africa in the 80s. So again, we thought that India versus South Africa game would be, a close contest, but it was a one-sided affair with Virat Kohli scoring a century on his birthday. So that again was a big occasion. And then to the semi-finals again, we had New Zealand, where Daryl Mitchell and Williamson had made sure that the Indian fans are not celebrating till the very end, or the celebrations don't begin early, I would say. But we made sure that we win that game as well. Shami with 7 wickets a year and Kohli with centuries. So the roadmap to the finals the journey to the finals has been great. We just want one win. We have made sure that we have won 10 out of 10. Let's make it 11 on 11 and have a huge party after that.
Definitely. And I went to South Africa to see that game and saw Virat Kohli scoring a century. I went to Wankhede to see that game and saw Virat Kohli scoring a century. And after that century, he went running towards the non-strikers end, and he literally saw Sachin Tendulkar, the god of cricket, there.
The way he
bowed down. So this is a tribute from our end to Virat Kohli. And one more tribute, if I can have the ball. This one is for Shami.
Mohammad Shami, yes.
The guy who has probably given us the hope that anything can happen. Anything can happen with this particular thing in hand. All you need to do is present the seam upright.
We wish all the 11 and 15 members of the Indian team all the very best for the World Cup. We wish that India wins the World Cup for the 3rd time and celebrates in there has to be a biggest celebration till date.
Absolutely. India's campaign of the World Cup has been nothing short of sheer brilliance. Some would even say almost perfection. And they have had some superstars who have helped them reach there. Who would you think have been the key players in this campaign of the World Cup?
To start off, I think in the bowling department at least, the one name that stands out has to be Mohammad Shami. Given the fact that he was not initially in the playing 11 to accommodate the Hardik Pandya in the later half of the batting lineup. But since his Hardik's injury, the way Shami stepped up and the way he's kind of made a place for himself, and especially even if you see in the semi-final, you can see that there was not a lot of help for the seamers. You really Bumrah and Siraj went for a few runs, but immediately the minute Shami came on, the first ball was a wicket. And I really think especially his seam presentation, second to none. I don't think I've ever seen somebody with the perfect seam presentation that he has. So when he's like that, it definitely helps to kind of get the ball moving, even if there's nothing on the surface or the conditions. So that's one place Shami stepped up. And second of all, see, he's looking to get wickets, and especially in a big game like against Australia in a final, you got to be looking to get wickets. There is Bumrah or Siraj. Siraj also is a wicket taking bowler, but Bumrah will look to contain the batsman. But Shami is the main and the most important player, especially in the top order, that is playing really well for Australia to get a couple of wickets up front and put pressure on the Australian players.
So I would say Virat Kohli is one of the key player for India. He has scored 711 runs in this World Cup, and which includes 3 centuries and 5 half centuries. Also Virat Kohli ka record देखा जाए against Australia, तो he has played 46 innings and he has scored 313 runs in that 46 innings. So on the average of 50 almost. So वो एक अच्छा प्लस पॉइंट है विराट का.
So यहाँ विराट कोहली का कंट्रीब्यूशन हमेशा हम देखने जाएंगे तो मतलब काफी महत्वपूर्ण है इस टीम को. एंड उनके अलावा आपने मोहम्मद शमी के बारे में बोला, आपने विराट कोहली के बारे में बोला, लेकिन ये दोनों प्लेयर्स सुपरस्टार हैं जिनको एक रिकॉग्निशन मिल चुका है. इस टीम में डू यू थिंक दैट देयर आर प्लेयर्स who have not got the recognition that they deserve? If you look at Rohit Sharma as a batsman, उनका जो नॉक था न्यूजीलैंड के सामने सेमीफाइनल्स में, जो उन्होंने एक पेस सेट किया, प्रेशर ले लिया बाकी के बैटिंग लाइनअप से, उसमें मतलब कितना महत्वपूर्ण था वो. वैसा और कोई कंट्रीब्यूशन है इस टीम में और कोई प्लेयर का?
Definitely, Erishe. I think what happens. That brings back to her point. The reason Kohli's been able to maybe take a step back in terms of the strike rate is because of the kind of start Rohit is giving the Team India. And there's not just a semi-final. If you say, I think out of the 9 league matches we played, I think 7 of them we were 90 for 1 or 90 for no loss, around that range. To go and that really brings me back memories of 2011 because of the kind of start that Sehwag used to give for India. And then right after that. The kind of openers we got in Rohit Sharma or Shikhar Dhawan, they used to like to take their time, and they used to go big. But this kind of, innings where he just goes right at it from the beginning, not only helps the entire team, but also helps Shubman to take a couple of balls and to get set in. And he was playing really well in the semi-final. I think after a really long period of time, he's come into his element. But that being said, due to the Mumbai heat really got to him and he had to walk off at 80. But that again, speaking of other players, especially in the bowling, if I can talk about it, it has to be one department is the spin department. Not only Kuldeep and also Jadeja for that matter. Especially because if you told me maybe 5 years, 6 years ago that in the subcontinent that that Indian pacers would be dominating the wickets column, I don't think me or anybody else would be believing that. But the fact is that even though that Kuldeep and Jadeja have picked up wickets in the middle overs, the kind of starts that the pacers have been giving has actually put the spinners not in the limelight. So, but that being said, irrespective of whatever kind of pitches they're being given, they're still making sure to at least pick wickets or contain them. So even though they're not in the limelight or in the wickets column for the highest number of wickets, I think the spin department is one aspect of the Indian team that India takes a really good pride in. We have a really huge heritage of spin bowlers that we come from. But even being that said, in this tournament per se, I think the spin department has to be the unsung hero.
So as a batter, I would say KL Rahul is one of the player. उन्होंने जो स्टार्ट किया था वर्ल्ड कप में अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया, तो जहाँ पे इंडिया वाज ऑन 2 for 3 और फिर वहाँ पे विराट कोहली और केएल राहुल ने पार्टनरशिप किया था एंड ही हैज़ स्कोर्ड 97 नॉट आउट ऑन दैट मैच. तो वो एक अच्छा था। फिर अगेन लास्ट मैच में न्यूजीलैंड के अगेंस्ट उन्होंने जो 20 बॉल 40 जो फास्टेस्ट मारा था, वो एक बहुत अच्छा ये था उनके तरफ से। जैसे रोहित शर्मा ने भी लास्ट इंटरव्यू में बोला कि उनको केएल राहुल से बहुत हेल्प मिल रहा है डीआरएस लेने में भी, तो वो एक प्लस पॉइंट है केएल राहुल का। फिर वर्ल्ड कप के जस्ट पहले ही वॉज इंजर्ड, और फिर उन्होंने जो कमबैक किया है ये वर्ल्ड कप में बाय कंट्रीब्यूटिंग रन्स आल्सो, ही हैज़ स्कोर्ड 400 रन्स अराउंड इन द वर्ल्ड कप, तो वो एक अच्छा योगदान रहा है उनके तरफ से टीम इंडिया के लिए।
Another major aspect I think that really needs to be spoken about is Rohit Sharma's captaincy. I think, usually when a team is performing really well, you think a captain has no role because you think everybody is doing their roles and captain doesn't really have a lot of work. But if you actually look very closely, the kind of field placements, especially in the semi-final, that Jadeja was India's best fielder, kept in the right spot. I think he got 3 back-to-back catches, and honestly, knowing where the ball will go is a talent not most captains possess. And I think MS had one of the greatest talent to know which fielder to keep where. And I think Rohit's also a great aspect. And as she said, KL Rahul's been really helpful. I can see him always chirping and trying to move around the field. So all in all, it looks like a very well-oiled machine, the Indian team. Should be a great match against the Aussies as usual.
So moving on to the team of the tournament, who do you think are the players throughout the entire tournament who have had a massive impact on their individual teams?
So talking about the top order, we have Rohit Sharma and Quinton de Kock as the opening pair. I think 2 of the best, arguably, opening batsmen in this tournament. Stats-wise as well, de Kock has been there with 4 centuries. And Rohit Sharma's attacking start that he has given to India in every single match, that cannot be justified by numbers or stats.
Definitely.
And the third batsman in the top order has to be Virat Kohli.
No doubt.
The 50th century, surpassing Sachin Tendulkar, that you can't ignore Virat.
And it's not just about the century also, but the balance that he brings to the team, that he literally is the person who holds the entire middle order, and the batters that come next after him are the ones who generally have a free hand to play with, and also gives a lot of flexibility for Rohit also to play with that kind of freedom, and vice versa. Because Rohit plays that kind of a role, that is exactly how Virat Kohli can perform in the middle order.
Absolutely.
So that's a wonderful top 3. But then when we look at the middle order, I think we'll have to keep Daryl Mitchell in the mix. The kind of player that he has been for New Zealand this time, he has performed exceptionally well. He has literally given the team not only just the stability, but also the firepower that he brings in the squad. And he has been amazing. And we saw that in Wankhede. He was literally going to take the game away from us. And that is something that is really commendable. Then we need to have Markram in the squad as well. For South Africa, when we look at this tournament particularly, the way things started for them, Markram has been that person who has held the team together. When we talk about Bavuma being the captain and a lot of other people giving their thoughts about it, what Markram has done is he has ensured that irrespective of what the situation is, he will ensure that the team reaches to a very good total. And that is the thing that we need to have, a player like that, someone in the squad who's probably going to give the entire team an idea of which total is the right one to reach at. And then you need to have the big show in the squad. You just can't keep him out of the game. The guy who has literally shown that, I mean, till now, a lot of coaches around the world would have thought that, okay, let's focus on the footwork, let's keep an eye on the ball, this, that. But what he has done, he has written a new book for the coaches. And I think for people who still feel that they are not technically correct when it comes to playing the game, Maxwell has just given a belief to, I can't even assume how many people, that it is just about the mental strength. All you need to have is the right mindset. All you need to have is the right hand-eye coordination.
if there are situations where you are not able to be technically sound, you still can do a lot in this sport. And what he has done that day against Afghanistan at Wankhede, what an innings. And so that is our perfect middle order that is going to hold the team. And then when we move on to the spinners, Mitchell Santner is a very interesting bowler when you look at him. He comes up with a very slow, subtle run up, just that small loop, and then the ball that comes, the trajectory of the ball, it is similar to what Jadeja does. It was very difficult to leave Jadeja out because Jadeja no doubt gives you that contribution in all the three departments. But if you're looking just particularly about this tournament, I think Santner's role for New Zealand was comparatively better than what Jadeja brought to the Indian team. And then Adam Zampa, he is someone that who's been a very impactful player for Australia. So I think these are the two spinners that we need to keep in mind along with the top order that we just discussed.
And I think to top it off and finish everything off with the pacers that we have in the team, we have Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami and Kodze. Mohammad Shami, I think we don't need to talk anymore about this guy. He has been phenomenal. 7 wickets against New Zealand in the semi-final. The kind of bowling Shami has shown in this World Cup, I think we haven't seen a better performance in recent times by any other bowler on any other world stage. Jasprit Bumrah, he's a guy who goes under the radar a lot, I feel, especially with Shami on the rise in this tournament. Numbers and stats cannot justify how good this guy is in the power play for India. The amount of pressure this player puts on the batsman, you can't ignore Bumrah. And Gabriel Kodze has to be there in this pace attack as well, because what he does add to the team is not only the bowling prowess that he brings, but he also contributes with the bat on the field in general to the game. So I think this is the team of the tournament.
Definitely, and I think Mitchell Starc was someone that we had just discussed before doing this. But the reason I think what has happened is the expectations that people have from Starc, the kind of World Cups he had in 2015 and 2019. He was literally someone who you thought that he's just made for these games, these knockout games, these World Cup games. But then this year, this tournament particularly, these 3 bowlers have done really well as compared to Starc. So that is the reason why he was someone that we had to miss out. And if you look at the 12th man, I think the best player to have at that position is Rachin Ravindra. Absolutely. You need to have that kind of a young player in the squad, the kind of intensity that he brings to the game, the kind of innings that he plays along with Devon Conway in the opening. He is a really good player and one definitely for the future generation to look at. And also when you're looking at a player like Rachin Ravindra, he gives you that advantage of a left arm spinner. And that is a very difficult role that he plays because his primary skill is to give the team a very good start. He's an opener, but at the same time when it comes to New Zealand bowling, that is where Rachin Ravindra still has to give his contribution in the bowling department as well. So the kind of role that he's doing is very difficult. It was tough to leave him out of the playing 11, but because of the kind of players that we have taken. But definitely Rachin Ravindra at number 12 has to be there.
So, talking about the playing 11, there have been a lot of players who have missed out in your selections but have stood out in the World Cup. Who would these players be according to you?
Oh, I feel Madhushanka has to be the number 1 name here. The campaign that he had with Sri Lanka, it was amazing. And sadly, even though Madhushanka had such a great individual performance, that wasn't able to reflect or carry forward that impact into the Sri Lankan team itself. But I think he's one miss that should have been in the team of the tournament.
And I think not only Madhushanka, but there have been players like you talk about Rashid Khan for Afghanistan, you talk about Marco Jansen, and a lot of other players. But the reason for not having them in the team is not because they have not performed well, but it is also about the impact that they bring to the squad. And the reason for why we have, if you look at our squad, we have a lot of Australians and Indians, and the main reason we all know because those two teams have eventually reached the finals.
Yeah.
So if a particular player has missed out, it's just because that their contribution has not led the team to where these two teams are right now. So we do understand that there has been definitely a lot of quality in this World Cup. A lot of teams have, Netherlands for that fact have played a really good World Cup. So you have players
from those teams as well. But the only reason why they could not make it here is because of the kind of impacts that these players have brought to the team. That is definitely more than what these guys have done.
That's very true. A lot of quality in this World Cup, and I'm pretty sure our viewers, they'll be able to add on quite a few names of their own opinions, which they can let us know in the comments. So anyway, moving on to the main topic of conversation. India take on Australia in the final of the ICC Cricket World Cup. And we here have for the first time 3 experts with us today for the discussion on the topic of the match. So starting off with the match, about the toss. If India win the toss, what do they choose?
आई थिंक टॉस जीतेंगे तो हमें डेफिनेटली बैटिंग करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि फाइनल का मैच है, हमें कोई रिस्क नहीं लेना है. प्रेशर में हमारे पास चेस मास्टर है, हमारे पास बेस्ट बैटिंग लाइनअप है, पर फिर भी हमें वो प्रेशर नहीं लेना है चेस करने का. सो विन द टॉस, बैट फर्स्ट, सेट अ ह्यूज टोटल ऑन बोर्ड एंड पुट ऑस्ट्रेलियंस ऑन द बैक फुट एंड इन प्रेशर.
तो जैसा रोहित ने बोला, इट्स कम्प्लीटली फेयर व्हाट ही सेड राइट नाउ. बट मैं और एक टॉपिक यहाँ उठाना चाहूँगा, जिस तरह से हमारी कैप्टन की मेंटालिटी है. उन्होंने एक इंटरव्यू में कहा था, जहाँ टॉस इज़ नॉट हिज मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव, तो वो उनकी मेंटालिटी बहुत पॉजिटिव वे में दिखाता है सिचुएशन को. और जैसे हम आगे टॉस पे भी चर्चा करेंगे, तो हाँ, बैटिंग पहले करना ज़्यादा बेहतर रहेगा, बिकॉज एज वी ऑल नो, फ्लड लाइट्स में जब हमारे इंडियन बॉलर्स बॉलिंग करते हैं तो वो उनकी जो स्ट्रेंथ रहती है वो और बढ़ जाती है, बिकॉज शमी, बुमराह, सिराज, दे आर ऑल सो गुड विद द स्विंग. सो अगर पहले हम बैटिंग करते हैं और एक बड़ा टोटल लगाते हैं तो डेफिनेटली एक बहुत पॉजिटिव साइन होगा हमारी टीम के लिए फाइनल में.
तो वैसे टॉस ज़्यादा मैटर नहीं करता है, क्योंकि इंडिया ने अभी तक जो 10 मैचेस खेले हैं उसमें 5 टॉस जीते थे और वहाँ पे बैटिंग करके जीते हैं और नेक्स्ट चेस करते हुए जीते. तो और अहमदाबाद का पिच पे अभी तक ये वर्ल्ड कप का रिकॉर्ड के हिसाब से देखा जाए तो जो चेस कर रहा है वो जीत रहा है. तो मेरे हिसाब से हम लोग को पहले बॉलिंग लेना चाहिए.
ये बिल्कुल सही है. इंडिया के परफॉर्मेंसेस एकदम एक तरह से बोल सकते हैं परफेक्ट रह चुके हैं, भले टॉस का जो भी आउटकम हुआ हो, एंड हम होप करते हैं कि फाइनल में भी वैसा ही रहे. और अगर हम लोग सूटेबल टारगेट की बात करें, जो टीम सेट कर रहा है टारगेट, वो मतलब कितने रन्स बनाने चाहेगा इनिंग्स में?
आई वुड से सी इन द फाइनल नो स्कोर इज अ सेफ स्कोर. ओके, सो वैसे आप मुझसे प्रेडिक्शन करने पूछेंगे तो आई वुड से 350 to 370 इज क्वाइट अ फाइटिंग स्कोर, आई वुड से, बिकॉज हमने सेमीफाइनल में भी देखा, वो तो वानखेड़े में था, छोटा ग्राउंड है एज कम्पेयर टू अहमदाबाद, बट इट्स ऑस्ट्रेलिया. दे आर सो पैशनेट अबाउट विनिंग अ गेम. स्पेशली आप जर्नी देखेंगे तो पहले वो टर्बुलेंट था उनका, जैसे उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया, बट अल्टीमेटली दे फाउट सो वेल.
आई पर्सनली थिंक कि देखो, फाइनल होता है तब आप जो भी टारगेट सेट करते हो वो +30 एक मेंटालिटी लेके ही चलते हो. अगर आपने 300 का टारगेट सेट किया है, सो इन अ फाइनल दैट वुड लुक एज अ 330-340 स्कोर. सो अगर 300 भी अगर इंडिया बना लेता है एक टॉस जीतने के बाद, या जो भी टीम बना लेती है आफ्टर विनिंग अ टॉस, 300 वुड बी अ वेरी सेफ स्कोर, considering the fact that both the teams have good set of bowlers, plus एक mentality है कि final है, तो वो target would look, even though it's 300, it would look as a 325 to 340 target. तो वो runs matter करते हैं. So मेरे हिसाब से 300 तक safe है score.
तो अगर हम की प्लेयर्स की बात करें, कौन रहेगा जो ऐसा मतलब अपनी टीम के लिए एक इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है काफ़ी?
तो आई थिंक विराट कोहली एक प्लेयर है, क्योंकि जिस फॉर्म में वो चल रहे पूरे वर्ल्ड कप, जो हिसाब से वो रन बना रहे एवरी मैच, तो वो विराट कोहली हो सकते हैं.
आई वुड से सी रोहित शर्मा पहले नाम आता है, बिकॉज नॉट मैनी पीपल विल टॉक अबाउट हिम, बट जिस तरीके से वो टीम में इम्पैक्ट डाल रहे हैं, द स्टार्ट ही इज़ गिविंग, I think it has to be Rohit Sharma.
So in terms of Australia, जैसे इन्होंने इंडिया के बारे में कहा, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में मुझे लगता है कि स्टीव स्मिथ एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करेंगे। स्टीव स्मिथ के साथ उनके जो मोस्ट एक्सपीरियंस्ड साथी है डेविड वार्नर, ये दो में से एक प्लेयर को एक लंबा इनिंग्स खेलना पड़ेगा कल। दे नो हाउ इट इज़ टू प्ले अ वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल। वो 2015 में दोनों खेल चुके, 2019 में भी सेमीफाइनल में वो दोनों थे, और स्टीव स्मिथ के पास वो एबिलिटी है टू प्ले एज लॉन्ग एज पॉसिबल। उनके साथ एक और एक्सपीरियंस बॉलर है जो है मिचेल स्टार्क। नॉट जस्ट मिचेल स्टार्क बट उनका जो ट्रायो है स्टार्क, हेजलवुड और कमिंस का, वो बहुत ही खतरनाक ट्रायो है। ऑन देयर डे दे कैन स्विंग द बॉल बोथ वेज एंड दे कैन ट्रबल द इंडियन बैट्समैन। सो मुझे लगता है कि दे विल हैव टू, उन तीनों ने साथ में मिलके अब तक स्टेप अप नहीं किया है इस वर्ल्ड कप में, तो इट इज़ अ वेरी गुड opportunity for them to step up in a World Cup final together and then make sure कि Indian batsman back foot पे जाए for a change।
बिल्कुल। एंड अगर हम बात करें तो ये आप लोग तीनों ने अपने अपने की प्लेयर्स बताए, लेकिन इन की प्लेयर्स को टक्कर देने लायक कोई बैटल होने वाला है जो इंडिविजुअली दूसरे प्लेयर के साथ होएगा कोई?
मुझे लगता है कोहली वर्सेस एडम जैम्पा कैन बी अ ग्रेट बैटल। एडम जैम्पा और कोहली बहुत खेल चुके हैं साथ में। एडम जैम्पा ने कोहली के विकेट्स भी काफ़ी बार लिए हैं, सो आई थिंक दोनों को पता है उन दोनों की स्ट्रेंथ्स और वीकनेसेस, सो आई थिंक दैट बैटल वुड बी अ की फॉर मी इन द मिडल ओवर्स।
I would like to say Josh Hazelwood and Rohit Sharma, because जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया के अगेंस्ट मैच हुआ था इंडिया का, तो हेजलवुड ने बहुत बेहतरीन डिलीवरी से रोहित शर्मा को आउट किया था। तो ये एक बैटल होगा। मिचेल स्टार्क को भी बोला जा सकता है रोहित शर्मा के अगेंस्ट, लेकिन एक पॉजिटिव चीज़ रोहित शर्मा की है कि वो ये टूर्नामेंट में लेफ्ट आर्मर्स को बहुत अच्छी तरीके से खेल रहे हैं। सो जॉश हेजलवुड और रोहित शर्मा को देखने में एक साथ बहुत मज़ा आएगा।
और मोहम्मद शमी का एंड डेविड वार्नर का भी हो सकता है, क्योंकि फिर मोहम्मद शमी भी जो हिसाब से बॉलिंग कर रहे हैं, लास्ट मैच में उन्होंने 7 विकेट्स लिए थे न्यूजीलैंड अगेंस्ट, तो शायद ओपनिंग पेयर जो है ऑस्ट्रेलिया का, उनको थोड़ा टफ हो सकता है मोहम्मद शमी के बॉलिंग।
क्या आपको लगता है मोहम्मद शमी ने जो 7 विकेट लिए वो 2019 में जो धोनी रन आउट हुए थे वो 7 नंबर को डेडिकेट कुछ था?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, हम सबको पता है वो कितना स्पेशल था, और इट वाज एन अमेजिंग कोइंसिडेंस आई वुड से।
एब्सोल्युटली
वो हम बोल सकते हैं कि मोहम्मद शमी डेविड वार्नर के इस पे शायद एक वन साइडेड बैटल कर सके इंडिया के लिए, इंस्टेड ऑफ इट बीइंग अ टफ बैटल, एक वन साइडेड बैटल अगर हो तो दैट्स व्हाट वीड प्रेफर। तो अगर हम बात करते हैं फैंस की इफेक्ट की, अहमदाबाद में 1,20,000 की कैपेसिटी है और इंडिया के फैंस ऑब्वियसली भर के आएंगे उनकी टीम को सपोर्ट देने, लेकिन कितना ही क्रूशियल रहेगा उनका सपोर्ट इस मैच में?
देखो, जो मैच इंडिया वर्सेस पाकिस्तान हुआ था उसमें हमने तो देखा है कि फैन सपोर्ट कितना था इंडिया के लिए और हाउ क्रूशियल दैट वाज फॉर इंडिया टू विन, क्योंकि दे प्लेड एज अ 12th मैन फॉर द इंडियन टीम। सो आई एम श्योर वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल, a final in India where India is playing, nothing gets bigger. Fans have started going to Ahmedabad already. Fans are backing Indian team. They would play a very big role from ball 1 to the last ball and making sure India win the World Cup after 12 years.
तो अहमदाबाद में तो सीटिंग कैपेसिटी वी नो इट्स 1,20,000 as you said. So just imagine it's World Cup final and India is playing there. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
I think fans की गूंज अहमदाबाद से ऑस्ट्रेलिया तक जाने वाली है। इतना फैंस पीछे रहने वाले इंडियन टीम के कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया मेलबर्न तक वो आवाज़ जाने वाली है। तो लेट्स वन बिग शाउट आउट फॉर द फैंस।
आई फील आधा मैच तो क्राउड ही जीता देता है, क्योंकि जो चेयर अप होता है बाहर से उसमें प्लेयर को एनर्जी आ जाता है और वहाँ पे मज़ा आता है, और वो लोग 100% के जगह पे 200% देके
डेफिनेटली
बराबर, बिल्कुल सही। एक ऑस्ट्रेलिया को भी एक इंटिमिडेशन होता है कि मतलब इतने सारे फैंस हैं जो इंडिया को सपोर्ट देने आए हैं। एज जफर ने कहा, एक 12th मैन जैसा फीलिंग आता है, एक काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट 12th मैन। एनीवे, अगर बात करते हैं आगे का, 2003 में 20 साल पहले ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने इंडिया को हराया। अभी 2019 में हमने न्यूजीलैंड की बात की, उसका रिवेंज इंडिया ने जस्ट लिया सेमीफाइनल 1 में, क्या फाइनल में वो एक मेंटालिटी रहेगा इंडिया का रिवेंज लेने का?
देखो ये नया इंडिया है, ये घुसेगा भी और मारेगा भी। मुझे लगता है ये मेंटालिटी के साथ हम जाएंगे अंदर, 20 साल बाद रिवेंज लेंगे। तो इट इज़ इंडियाज़ डे ऑन अ संडे, वी आर लिफ्टिंग द वर्ल्ड कप एंड taking that revenge against Australia 20 years later.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And now a question for our viewers. Who is the man of the tournament for you guys? Is it Mohammad Shami or is it Virat Kohli? You can let us know by going over to our Instagram stories @IISM World and voting over there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of a brilliant tournament and what has been an even bigger pleasure to produce a pre-match show for you guys, the viewers. I've been your host Erishe Solai, and on behalf of the entire team here at Stumps Sixes, we thank you all for being with us every step of the way. And with that, to Team India.
So 3 cheers for Team India. India, 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 India.